So you drafted somebody last year and had high expectations for them, and then they came out and laid an egg. Let's talk about a few players who burned us last year and whether we can trust them or not this year. Hey, what's up everybody? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Today we're going to be talking about players who burned us in 2017, right? We drafted them on draft day. Felt pretty good about it. 2017 came along, they did a whole lot of nothing. And now we're faced with the decision this year whether we want to give them another chance or not. I got 4 names on this list. I don't know if we can trust them again, but we're going to talk about it. All right, let's talk about a running back. Somebody who we had some high hopes for last year and didn't have a horrible year, but he didn't have a great year either, and it's Lamar Miller of the Houston Texans. And there's a lot of articles, a lot of theories flying around there right now that being that Deshaun Watson is healthy and that he'll be back, Lamar Miller's value instantly grows. And that's true to an extent, it does, but what is it going to grow to? Are we still talking about an RB2, RB3, or does he have that RB1 upside this year? And if you're asking me, I'm going to say no. To me, the return of Deshaun Watson doesn't help Lamar Miller as much as the improved defense does there in Houston. That improved defense is hopefully going to allow Houston to get a lead, run more in the second half, and then we have the potential of Lamar Miller numbers. Now, Donta Foreman's coming back, but he's going to be eased back into action. He's coming off that bad injury last year. And I just don't want to overhype Lamar Miller. I do like Lamar Miller, don't get me wrong, but I only like him right now because I have him ranked 22nd overall as a running back. So that's putting him right there in the fringe RB2, RB3 range. It's definitely not something I want to have to rely on week 1 unless I went 0 RB and I went heavy wide receiver. But he's got the potential. He's going to get the early down work. I'm just not sold on the fact that Lamar Miller is instantly upgraded to an RB2 with RB1 upside just yet. On draft day, if Lamar Miller is sitting there, if you have to count on him week 1, I'd start looking at maybe some other options just to be safe. Now, if he's your RB3, draft away. Next up on my list is going to be Sammy Watkins. And what happened to Sammy last? I mean, somebody needs to talk to the coaching staff in LA. Why? I mean, he looked healthy for the first time in ever, and he just wasn't used. He was more of, can't even really call him a decoy because I think the defenses even knew he wasn't going to be used, and he was kind of just out there running routes, getting in shape, I guess. I don't know. But he looks healthy. He seems healthy. Haven't heard of any Sammy Watkins injuries anytime soon. And there's been a few films coming out here of OTAs and mini camps where it looks like him and Pat Mahomes are getting some good chemistry together, that they're working well together. Sammy looks quick running routes. I mean, everything's lining up for Sammy to have a great year. I mean, he's got that potential. I mean, he's had a great year before. Oh, he's had a really good year before. I mean, he's only 25 years old. I think a lot of people realize that or don't realize that he's as young as he still is. I mean, back in 2015 for Buffalo, he had over 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, and only played 13 games. That's a high upside for somebody here in the high-powered offense of Kansas City. Now, yes, Kansas City has Travis Kelce, and they have Tyreek Hill, and they have 35 running backs on the roster. I get it. I mean, he's going to have some competition. But I think everybody is automatically giving those targets to Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce based off of what's happened in the past in Kansas City. Those were Alex Smith's guys. We don't know who Pat Mahomes' guy is. And Sammy Watkins is somebody who could have some sneaky value. Right now I have him ranked as wide receiver 32, which if you can get him at that range and not reach for him, Sammy Watkins could have some crazy value on draft day. Let's talk about Devontae Parker again. I feel like there's like the 3rd year straight, people are starting to hype Devontae Parker. I remember sitting in this exact studio last year and talking to people when Jay Cutler was signed in Miami. Everybody was saying, oh, Devontae Parker, he's going to be the man this year for Cutler. That's Cutler's guy. That's who Cutler's going to throw to. And I remember sitting here. And if the videos weren't so embarrassing, I would tell you guys to go back and watch them. But we were so bad back then. You know what? Just take my word for it now. We talked about it. All right. And I remember sitting here saying, man, I think Jarvis Landry's the one to go there. I wouldn't just crown Devontae Parker right away. And what happened? Landry went out and had a great year. Parker had his normal year. But he's got talent. And I hate to keep saying that about some of these guys, but he has the potential. He gets Ryan Tannehill back this year. Whether that helps or not, at least Landry's out of town, so at least those are a few more targets going to be coming his way. That offense and defense in Miami is nothing to be excited about, especially on the defensive side, really. So they're going to have to throw the ball, and he does have a lot of talent. He can be a deep threat. He can be a possession receiver. Whatever you need him to be, he's just been inconsistent. That's the only thing he's been in his career, and if it's going to change, it needs to change quick. Right? It needs to change this. If it doesn't happen this year, I'm never going to talk about Devontae Parker ever again. Like, on any show, any year, on anyone's channel, this is it. This is the last chance for Devontae Parker. I think he kind of knows it. But if I'm, staring him at the face on draft day, am I taking Devontae Parker? To me, he's not worth the risk. Last guy on my list, and I purposely saved him for last, because if I would have done him first, a lot of you guys would have clicked off the video by now, and that's not what I'm trying to do. Let's talk about Terrell Pryor just for a second. Terrell Pryor was way overdrafted last year. There was a ton of hype over Terrell Pryor last year going to Washington with Kirk Cousins, and those videos that came out in the preseason of him making crazy one-handed catches looking like he's jumping 15 foot in the air. I mean, there was way too much hype on Terrell Pryor last year, and almost every one of us bought into it. And we all failed miserably with the Terrell Pryor project, but now he finds himself in New York on the Jets. And to me, he's still got that upside. He still has that talent. It's not like he's just not a receiver anymore. I mean, he has that, but we don't know who the quarterback's going to be for sure yet, whether it's going to be McCown or Bridgewater or Darnold. I mean, they have options. Now, if Josh McCown is the starter for any reason, they had that same chemistry in Cleveland together just a few years ago, and I can see Terrell Pryor being a thing again, kind of, if that's the case. If Darnold or Bridgewater come out, I'm not overly excited about Terrell Pryor, especially, I don't know if you guys saw it, but if you didn't see it, you need to go on Twitter or Google it or something. Quincy Enunwa, his vertical is like 64 feet. I mean, he's jumping over, these blocking dummies, and it's impressive. I mean, the dude has his bounce back. And Quincy Enunwa, don't forget about him. He's a big-bodied, athletic receiver that can go up and get the catch. He's got some speed. Quincy Enunwa is somebody who's not going to be drafted in almost every league unless he shows out in the preseason. But that could be the downfall to Terrell Pryor more than Terrell Pryor in the QB situation. Quincy Enunwa coming in with Robbie Anderson. I can see Terrell Pryor kind of just being, used sporadically here and there. I don't see him having a huge year. Now, if it's the last round of your fantasy football draft and Terrell Pryor is sitting there, I might take a chance on him just to see how it turns out. You may end up with a diamond in the rough there at the end, and even if you don't, even if he's horrible again, you didn't lose any draft capital on it. It's a risk, but it's a very low risk, and you already have your starters, there. If he comes out and has a great week 1, week 2, that's some serious trade bait, because then you can sell him on all the hype that he had last year. It's worth a shot. That's just what I'm probably going to do. If I can get him there at the end, I'm going to use him and lose him. That's just me. All right, so those are 4 guys that pissed us off and burned us pretty bad last year. And they may end up doing it again, and that's why we're talking about it now. Best to talk about it now before draft day. So if you have anybody else out there that maybe you were upset about last year, don't know how they're going to do this year, hit me up below. We'll talk about any player you got. I want to make sure you guys are ready for your draft. And like always, really appreciate the support. Make sure you guys are liking, commenting, subscribing. Looking forward to hearing from you. Hit me up below. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye.